In no particular order, here are a few people with the most expensive child support. Number 10. Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is easily one of the greatest comedians of all time. He has an estimated net worth of around $200 million, and making money isn't the only thing Eddie is good at. He's good at making kids, too. Let's just say he seems to be particularly enthusiastic about being a dad. In total, Eddie has 10 kids with 5 different women. However, the kid that gets the most press about child support is his daughter, Angel Iris. He had her with former Spice Girl Mel B. They dated for about 6 months back in 2006, and that's how Angel was born in April of 2007. Initially, Eddie had some doubts about him being the actual dad, so he took a paternity test. And that test confirmed that the number of kids he had is in the double digits. Since he was shown to be Angel's father, he had to pay out a big chunk of change for child support. Initially in 2009, Eddie and Mel B came to the agreement of Eddie paying $25,000 a month for child support. But after some time, Murphy had to dig even deeper into his pockets. He was ordered to more than double his child support bill to $51,000 a month. And it wasn't over. Mel B filed another child support lawsuit in 2020, asking Murphy to pay even more money because she claimed that she didn't earn as much money as she used to. Number 9. Owen Wilson. He's had an on and off affair with Varunie Vongsvirates, who's the baby mama to his youngest kid and only daughter, Lyla. And for whatever reason, Wilson wasn't particularly thrilled with being Layla's dad. At least, that's according to Varunie. Wilson basically told her to, derelict his you-know-what when he found out. He supposedly had been avoiding Varunie ever since she revealed her pregnancy back in 2017. But she was pretty excited at the prospect of having a kid with Wilson. According to her, Wilson would have made an awesome dad since he was close with his 2 sons. The problem for her is that as soon as he heard about her pregnancy, he just changed his number and stopped talking to her. But she went after him anyways and tried to get him to be a dad to Lyla. This eventually escalated to Wilson demanding a paternity test. That test did indeed confirm that he was the father. Despite being Layla's dad, he's still never met her. But for what it's worth, he has been paying a hefty $25,000 a month for child support. According to court papers from 2018, Wilson also paid a one-time $70,000 for various expenses associated with Varunie's pregnancy. As of 2021, she's still trying to get Wilson to treat their daughter like he does with his other 2 kids, but with no luck. Number 8. Tom Cruise. When Katie Holmes filed for divorce, Tom Cruise apparently was completely blindsided by the decision. And it may sound like a ton for him to pay $400,000 a year to her for child support for their kid Suri. That comes out to around $33,000 a month. This is on top of paying for her health care and tuition expenses until Suri turned 18. But apparently, Cruise felt like he got the deal of a lifetime. Holmes filed for divorce from Cruise back in June of 2012 after 6 years of marriage. In case you didn't know, Tom is a Scientologist, and Katie apparently never got down with it. Officially, she cited irreconcilable differences in her divorce filing. However, their child support deal included restrictions on Suri's exposure to the Church of Scientology. Even though Cruise has to pay $400,000 a year to her, he still felt like he made out in the deal. That's because he didn't have to give her any spousal support. Even though Katie probably could have gotten more money by going to court in New York, she decided to quickly settle out of court with Tom. The reason he didn't have to give anywhere close to half what he's worth is because he signed an airtight prenup. It allowed him to keep most of his $250 million net worth he had at the time. Instead, he only had to pay what amounts to a little less than $5 million in total child support after she wanted out of the relationship with him and the Church of Scientology. Number 7. Charlie Sheen. It's safe to say he's easily had a successful career that's been filled with juicy paychecks. At one time, Sheen was the highest paid actor on TV when he was bringing close to $50 million a year. That was when he was getting paid around $1.25 million per episode for 2.5 Men. And that's why his child support had been sky high. He's had 5 kids with 3 different moms, so Sheen has paid a significant amount of child support over the years. For his daughters with Denise Richards, Sheen was reportedly paying $55,000 a month at at one point in time, but that amount has been cut down to $20,000 per month. And that wasn't the only child support he had to pay out. His total support bill shot even higher a few years later. Sheen welcomed twins with actress Brooke Mueller, and when they broke up, Charlie was ordered to pay another $55,000 a month for his twins. And apparently Sheen hasn't always been up on paying his child support. In 2019, Denise sued him for $450,000 because of missed payments that have been piled up over the years. According to court documents, Sheen was accused by her of spending money freely while he was ducking his child support. Number 6. Alex Rodriguez. A-Rod has lived and continues to live the superstar life, along with his superstar wife, J-Lo. Over his 22-year-long career, A-Rod pulled in an estimated $480 million. Roughly $396.5 million were strictly from his baseball contracts. His biggest signing was back in 2008 when he hit a financial home run by signing a 10-year contract with the Yankees for $275 million. But around the same time he signed that giant contract, his then-wife, Cynthia Scurtis, filed for divorce. That was bad timing for him. A-Rod had to give her $115,000 a month for child support for his two daughters. From 2008 until 2017, A-Rod was making at least $25 million a year each year, so he could easily afford it. But ever since he retired, things got a bit shaky for A-Rod. His earnings had substantially dropped, averaging just around $3 million a year. Of course, that's a lot of money, but that was a huge drop from what he used to make. Supposedly, A-Rod and Cynthia had an initial agreement that was supposed to have been revised once he retired from baseball. So A-Rod filed to have his child support slashed to around $20,000 a month, but his ex-wife, on the other hand, still wanted about $50,000 a month. The details have never been disclosed, but what is known was that J-Lo got involved in trying to get the payments down. Number 5. Blake Griffin. Former All-Star Blake Griffin was in the spotlight back in 2018, except it wasn't for what he did on the court. It was for when he broke up with his then-fiancée, Bryn Cameron. In 2017, he signed a massive 5-year, $171 million contract with the LA Clippers. Because of that contract, Griffin definitely had to shell out some big bucks to Cameron for the two kids they had together, Ford and Finley. Court documents filed by Cameron claimed that Griffin kicked her out of the house they shared. She claimed that the main reason he left her and their kids was so that he could start dating Kendall Jenner, something that Griffin had denied. There had been numerous sources confirming his relationship with Kendall, but she never officially confirmed it herself. At that time, it was reported all over the internet that Griffin was ordered to pay a whopping $258,000 per month for child support. That would have translated to a little over $3 million a year in order to take care of two kids. Regardless of how much Blake made a year, no two kids in the world cost $3 million to raise. However, the reports that came out turned out to be false. Griffin and Cameron both refuted the claims, but they never did disclose the actual amount. TMZ later reported that they had settled on $32,000 a month. Don't you think that's still an insane figure to come up with to raise two kids? Number 4. Donald Trump. Way before Trump got into politics, Trump had to go to court in 1991 for a highly publicized divorce with his then-wife, Ivana. The divorce was a result of an affair Trump had had with Marla Maples, who he ended up marrying and, of course, divorcing. On top of a $14 million payout and an apartment in Trump Plaza, he also had to give Ivana a massive mansion in Connecticut. She said, "Thank you very much, Donald," and flipped that house for $15 million in 1998. Aside from the cash in the mansion, Trump also had to pay $650,000 a year in child support for Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. This was actually all part of the prenup they had signed back in 1977, but Ivana was still looking for more than what was promised. She and her lawyer said she was entitled to half of Trump's assets, which they had valued at around $5 billion back then. But the divorce came at the wrong time for her. That's because Trump was going through some rough times with his casinos in Atlantic City, and he was on the verge of business bankruptcy. So her lawyers urged her to take the $14 million instead of holding out for a better deal. Number 3. Brendan Fraser. Fraser is probably best known for his role as Rick O'Connell in the franchise The Mummy. However, he's also well known for the insane amount of money he had to fork out as alimony and child support to his ex-wife, Afton Smith. Smith and Fraser officially divorced in February of 2009 after being married for over 10 years. With 3 kids from their marriage, Fraser was ordered to pay a whopping $900,000 a year for child support. But at that time, he could afford it. He was one of the highest paid actors in the world because of the Mummy franchise. But in 2013, Brendan filed a case with a Connecticut court to have his child support reduced. He claimed that he couldn't afford the child support payments anymore. He actually claimed an income of a big fat zero. Fraser told the courts that he didn't have any confirmed movie deals in the future. Smith accused him of trying to hide his true income. She said that he had $9 million in contracts that weren't in writing, but maybe Fraser was right about not having any income coming in. That's because between 2014 and 2019, he didn't have a single role in any movie during that span. Number 2. Britney Spears. It's not only guys who have to pay child support. Women have to do it as well from time to time. And Britney knows all too much about it because she had to pay a ton of cash to her ex, Kevin Federline. She famously had a 3-year marriage with her former backup dancer, a time when they had 2 kids together. The request from K-Fed doesn't seem to stop for Britney. He's filed for increase in support over the years. When they first divorced, she was ordered to pay $20,000 per month to K-Fed as child support. Everything was all good until 2018. That's when he came up with new demands for child support. Federline basically said that Britney's life was way more lavish when compared to that of their kids. Back during their first custody and child support battle, Britney was still in the aftermath of her famous meltdown from shaving her head. That stalled her career and how much money she made and, of course, the amount she had to pay for child support. But Britney got her career back on track and regained her earning potential. And because of that, K-Fed wanted a whopping $40,000 more a month in order to take care of their kids. This is despite Britney covering the bills for private education, tutoring, and other things for their kids, before giving him $20,000 a month. Yep. K-Fed seriously asked Britney for $60,000 a month to take care of 2 kids. In court documents, K-Fed said he makes around $3,000 a month as a DJ, and he can't work as a dancer anymore because of his age. Britney refused to give that much, but they did meet in the middle. A deal was reached, but the agreed-on amount wasn't publicly disclosed. And here's the kicker. In addition to paying more money to him per month, Britney also had to pay $110,000 to cover K-Fed's legal fees when he took her to court. Number 1. KERKORIAN. This late billionaire had one of the most controversial child support and divorce settlements ever from his ex-wife, Lisa KERKORIAN. Kirk and Lisa got married in 1999 after dating for a few years, but by the time they got married, it was already the beginning of the end for them. They were married for only 1 month. Their divorce proceedings kicked off and it turned into a giant mess. The contentious fight between them became one of Hollywood's most bizarre court cases. For example, a private investigator was charged with wiretapping Lisa's phones. That investigator was hired by KERKORIAN's lawyer to find dirt on Lisa. Both men were convicted of conspiring to listen in on her private phone conversations. KERKORIAN testified that he never knew anything about it. KERKORIAN eventually started paying a monthly sum of $50,000 for his daughter Kira. But here's the crazy part. He was tricked into paying support for a daughter that wasn't his. Even Lisa acknowledged in court that she faked the DNA used in his paternity test. She did it by using saliva she got from KERKORIAN's real daughter, Tracy KERKORIAN. Lisa admitted that the biological father for Kira was actually Hollywood movie producer Stephen Bing. And here is the craziest part. Despite knowing all of this, in 2010, KERKORIAN agreed to double the monthly support for Kira to $100,000 a month, all the way up until her 19th birthday. After that, it supposedly dropped to $50,000 a month. On top of the monthly payments, he also had agreed to pay $10 million in back child support for a daughter he knew wasn't his at all. Here's what's next.